The issue of women marrying up, marrying down, or getting into a 50-50 relationship continues to be a hot topic. If you're an unmarried woman, you have the advantage of listening to the viewpoints of people who are on each side of the spectrum, and you can gauge what really makes sense for a woman in the short term and long term, and what would benefit her, her children, and future generations. Now, in today's video, I'm going to share my perspective coming from a divorcee with the experience of marrying down. But when you are young, you sometimes think you are the exception, and that with youth also comes the ability to meet one's potential. But in a relationship, both parties must be willing to meet their potential in order to lighten the burden of the other. So the truth is that it's not just about potential, but the willingness to work, the self-belief to make it happen. And a relationship is also about both parties understanding their roles and having a common goal. If I had to give my past self advice, it's the advice that I'm sharing with you today. Here's what I'd say. Number one, don't run into any situation because you'll end up stumbling out. This also means looking more closely and examining the situation in the short term, and not just thinking about how things will be in the future. It may seem counterintuitive, but look at what's happening now. Are you already making compromises and rationalizing the situation? If you really think about it, many women do this. We look at the short term and what is currently happening with the person we're interested in and make compromises with the belief that in the long term, things will be much better. Maybe the man is in school, or he has a low-paying job, but he's struggling to pay off debt. My point is, there is something about the relationship that you don't necessarily like, but you like the man. And so you forecast that this situation will improve later down the line. You have faith that he'll rise to the occasion and sort himself out. Instead, you should ask yourself two questions. The first is this man capable of improving this situation without my help? As women, we often figure out on our own how to improve a situation, whether it's getting an extra job or figuring out how to finish school. And so, the man in your life should be able to problem solve on his own. If not, prepare yourself to be his problem solver, because this is going to be your role in your relationship. And as women, you don't want to be with a man who cannot get himself out of a pickle. Number two, the second question you should ask yourself is this: if nothing changes about this thing that I don't like, can I live with it? This question is important because the probability of a situation remaining the same or a person remaining the same is higher than the probability of it changing. Love doesn't change anyone who wants to remain the same. So if anyone were to ask me why hypergamy, I would say that it's better to marry a man who has a provider mentality. And sometimes we can be fooled during the dating phase. But here's where you have to look at factors such as his income and the kind of friends that he has. Does he hang around bums who you yourself don't want to mix up with? Or does he hang around ambitious people? Now, we know that there are many men who make less than the woman they're in a relationship with. And though things may seem cool in the beginning, as time goes on, the women living this life will find that the pressure of household expenses is on her. And when you add children to the picture, her workload gets heavier. She has to work, she has to keep a roof over their heads, and she has to take care of her kids. And what often happens is the man begins to feel that his money is flexible. He has a project he likes to do, so he can use his own money because you have the household covered. And you know what? He may even ask you for some of your money because you are making more than him. So now you have less budget to follow your own pursuits. Instead, the money is being used in the household and even sometimes on your husband or partner. And if I were to ask a married woman who out-earns her husband right now, if any part of this is true for her, many will say yes. And what happens is that after some time, you will become resentful. Why? Because women want to be with men who give and men who provide. Men who are focused on taking are men that no woman wants. No woman wants to spend her money and take care of others while her own needs continue to go unmet. The third thing I will say is that the lack of money will affect the quality of your life. And it's better for a woman to choose a man who has the mindset of a competitor and who sees himself as a winner in life. When a man sees himself as a winner, he creates winning teams and wants to see his family succeed. When you choose someone who is barely getting by in life or who needs your finances to help him, you're basically setting yourself up to walk through life on a tightrope. Money matters, and the more time that passes where you are with a man that under-earns, the wider the gap increases, whereby your quality of life will either be stagnant or it will decrease. For example, let's say you're with someone who makes $5,000 less than you. By year 5, that is $25,000 less than you. And that is $25,000 that could have put your child in a comfortable daycare, or allowed you to take a family vacation every year, or allowed you to be more relaxed about your hair appointments and beauty treatments. That's $25,000 that could have hired a cleaner for your home so you can rest, or that could have afforded you the option to put your children into private school. That's $25,000 that would have enabled you to live in a nicer neighborhood. And the chances are the gap that I just illustrated is much wider for you than a man simply making $5,000 less a year than you. Ladies, the person you choose to be with and his ability to make money affects the quality of life for you and the children that you have together. So choose someone who cares enough to provide well for his household. What I think hypergamy allows a woman to do is keep the crown on her head. It allows her to maintain the mindset that she's looking for a partner who will improve her life. You want to be with someone who values himself enough to utilize a skill set and maximize his potential. And the byproduct of this will be a man who is competitive in life and able to provide for not only himself, but the woman he's with and the family that he wants to build. So a woman who desires hypergamy is filtering out men who don't meet certain criteria. And when you have a mindset that this is the type of man that you want, you're more apt to attract this type of person into your life. There are provider men out there, and these type of men expect to earn more than the women in their lives. And the women who become their partners are the women who know not only what they bring to the table, but what the role of a man in their life should be. So to wrap up, don't run into any situation because you'll end up stumbling out. It's better to marry a man who has a provider mentality and know that a lack of money will affect the quality of your life. If you're struggling with a man because of this, really examine this. And you don't need to argue with anyone about hypergamy. You do you, and let the women who accept carrying the financial burdens of the household do so. Let them be satisfied with 50-50. Because at the end of the day, it creates more space for the woman who knows that she deserves more. The woman who wants to live a hypergamous life. Until the next video, share your comments below and please like and subscribe to my channel.